Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for clicking. It means a lot that you guys keep clicking. If you guys keep clicking, I'll keep making. And if you couldn't tell by this title and thumbnail, I am very, very confident on this season. And honestly, I really don't know why. I mean, maybe it's just that 41 was so bad that this season in comparison looks god tier. Or maybe it's the fact that we just hit the post-merge and that's making me very, very excited. But I just have tons of faith in this season, past, present, and future. For it to go down as probably a top 10 season of all time, if not top 5. I think it could be in that same category as great seasons like Cagayan, Cambodia, etc., etc. And I'm going to rationalize that opinion with a bunch of reasons why I feel like this season is just awesome overall, and also reasons that this season will be awesome in the future. Before I talk about my reasons, I actually want to address something that I feel like most people are expecting me to say, which is the casting. I actually think this cast isn't like super duper special like a Cagayan cast, right? The Cagayan cast, you have 3 S tier characters in Spencer, Cass, and Tony is like at a double S character. I mean, he is like a gigantic, like once in a decade type of player, Russell Hantz, Johnny Fairplay level of player. I feel like to me, this cast has none of those. Maybe has a few A tier characters, but mostly B tier characters. I think what puts this season apart is not the cast. As much as everyone's praising this cast in relation to the 41 cast, I actually think that you got a very similar cast, and the things that were changed, which I'll be talking about in a second, are the actual things that made this season better. I do not think that the cast is as important as, people are making it, or as improved as people are saying. So the first point that I want to make is about the advantages, which I feel like are much less abundant in the game. On top of that, we also have a new advantage. So firstly, I like how the Beware advantages have gotten a lot less screen time and are a lot less important in the edit. I like that, because last season we focused on these advantages that just never got played ever. And then this season, although we know that Mike, Marianne, and Drea have these Beware advantages, we're not like focused on that so much to the point where the game is secondary, which is what we felt last season, especially in the pre-merge. On top of that, these amulets to me are awesome. Great idea, because they can pay off at any time. And honestly, I wish they had done this instead of the Beware advantages and just hit regular idols at their beaches to avoid people losing votes. But nonetheless, I feel like to me these amulets are so balanced, because unlike the Beware advantages, they can pay off at any time in the game. So you can play it at the first tribal or the last tribal of this season. To me, it has a lot more variance. On top of that, they also have this quality about them where you can combine them or vote other people out who have them to make it more powerful, which to me is super cool, because now it adds an element as to whether or not you're better off trusting certain people and backstabbing certain people. It definitely makes the game more fun to watch, unlike these Beware advantages, which are just kind of it really doesn't add anything to the game. It more just adds idols to the game, which could be done regularly, not with the stupid loss of a vote and phrases at the challenges. I also think that the boot order has really helped. With last season, we saw Voce, JD, and Brad going out all in the pre-merge. All characters that I feel like are very good and had potential in the game. Honestly, the worst one there, as far as character-wise, is probably Brad. I mean, like, if Brad makes it to the merge there in 41, the season is so much better off, as well as JD and Voce. And to me, in this season, we don't see that. The only person who I feel like we lost that would have been a really fun time in the post-merge is Daniel. And he was kind of like the person who screwed up so much that he almost deserved to go home in the pre-merge. He was kind of our pre-merge fallen angel who just messed his whole game up, which makes sense. That like usually happens almost every season, if not every other season. So that more made sense with the edit in the archetype, whereas in someone like JD was given such positive content. He was never given like the dodo treatment like Daniel was when Daniel messed up. And I feel like to me, then you just go boot that person out. That doesn't really make much sense as a viewer, and it definitely feels frustrating watching the season like that. Another thing that I wanted to touch on was the editing, because I feel like the editing to me, it really makes this season. It just feels like a different season. It feels warmer and more fun and more positive overall. overall than last season for so many different reasons. I think one, there's a lack of identity politics, which makes the show more digestible for viewers who aren't into that, which is like 85% of the viewers. Obviously, the Twitter community and Reddit community loves that stuff, but just about every other sane person does not like that stuff. And so it does make the show more digestible. And also on top of that, people like me don't have to, get into the debates in comment sections with other people's about these topics that are being brought up on the show. So it also leads to less conflict outside of watching the show. On top of that, I feel like the edit does focus more on camp life scenes than just these little Brad advantage hunts. Like, obviously that was fun, but Brad goes home in the episode. Like, why? I don't know. To me, like, it's those scenes that are like really, really cool in the moment, but in the end don't really add substance. Scenes like Voce complaining, like, why? Because to me, your pre-merge boots should not be like your most developed characters who get all of the screen time. And I feel like for me, the boots this pre-merge didn't get that much screen time, and the people who make it far were pretty noticeable based off their edits, which I'm fine with, because overall the pre-merge is much less important than the post-merge. So I feel like a big point that you have to make here is the fact that the editing has focused on the right players and the right scenes, more than last season's, at least, for sure. So although this season may not have the best cast like Cagayan or the best blindsides like Cambodia, to me, it just has something that the past, I'd say, about 5 seasons don't have, aside from David vs. Goliath. And really, for that matter, since Millennials vs. Gen X, aside from David vs. Goliath, this season has all of these things to a certain level. Obviously, it's mild, but I think that they have the good cast, the great boot order, the good advantages, the decent production, I guess, and editing as well. I feel like, to me, this season has everything okay. And honestly, that's better than 39 and 38 and 40 and 36 and 34. These seasons that have these flaws in their editing or their boot order. I feel like this season just doesn't stumble in those same spots. I feel like, to me, 41 stumbles, and it basically has the exact same formula as this season, but just lacks these basic things like a good boot order, good editing, lack of woke stuff. To me, this season is just different. But what do you think? Do you hate this season? Do you love this season? Let me know in the comments. None of this happens without you guys. I'm just a weird guy speaking into a weird microphone. So if that's what I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.